Welcome, everyone, to episode 421 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pentalaresco. I write Step in Podcast 2, and today, Heidi Angell joins the podcast. I have become a personal fan of Heidi throughout this time, going through my freelance career. Very few people have been as helpful to me as she has been. I wish I had the funds to support her the way I think she deserves to be supported right now. But she has an incredible mind. She's an incredible human being, and I really, really enjoy my conversation with her. And I think you guys will too. But first, Alizero's out. The Cloud Diver's out. I'm having a blast. You ever have one of those moments in life where you just realize that you're going through, you're going to be fine, and it's going to work out, and you're just taken care of in just some weird, magical ways? Because right this minute, I mean, September's been kind of an interestingly rough month. I have a client I'm working on getting the audiobooks. In fact, I'm handing the first chapter in tonight because I'm going to make sure the Esperanto's right. Because those J's, man, the J's and the J's, the J's and the J's are just like, but I digress. But the thing about it is, I just had one of those epiphanies. Like, you know what? This in the next 2 weeks, I'm just going to do everything I can to do it right. And I'm not going to worry about anything else. And that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I've been doing. But anyways, let's get to our conversation with Heidi, and I'll hit my revelation afterwards. All right? Okay.
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
Okay, so, are you ready?
I am.
Okay. Gotta warn you, I have no idea what I'm doing. It's the whole my secret. Just letting you know that up front.
That's the fun, though, right?
Yeah, that totally is. So, I always ask this question, generally speaking. So if you have anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good.
Oh, I'm a good girl. There's nothing that I've ever done that anybody can know about.
That's an honest answer. There's nothing anyone can know about. Fair enough. I can respect that answer. If someone goes to me, I'm a good person, I don't believe you. I don't. Right? We all have these like good and bad qualities to us. Like we all have amazing qualities to us, but we also have these not so great qualities to us, and they're all part of our package, whatever they are, good, bad, or indifferent. And
right.
if someone goes to me today, oh, I'm just this wholesome and good. No, you're not. I know you do your other thing. Yeah, I know you do. Again, I'm not judging you for it because Lord knows I'm guilty too, right? But it's one of those situations where it's like I don't feel you're being genuine with me if you say that, and so it's like an auto strike. It's like strike one. You're being disingenuous, right? I don't know. That's just maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Oh no, it's it's the televangelist approach.
Yeah, I am never.
There's an actual public speaking aspect to it that people don't trust people who appear to.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, yeah, it's honest. Like we know everybody really can relate to relates to people that are more like them, right? Right, and that's just and that's. It sounds really simple, but it's the truth. Like, listen, can you tell a really, really bad joke? I do all the time. People just it's
You're
part
amazing. I can.
Yeah.
I'm. That's one of those things. But see, I grew up in a very religious household.
Okay.
And like, I didn't cuss until I was in my late teens, early 20s. And so I get there's a lot of times when people say things that are innuendo, and it just goes right over my head. I totally miss it. But then there are other times where I'm right there in the gutter.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes me a minute to catch up, and it depends on the environment I'm in. And that's one of the things that I found that I really struggle with in marketing is that, like, I can't tell the joke because I've been raised and geared towards professional, and it's hard to let that go when that's
It's
which
comfortable.
you've always been expected.
Well,
You know?
the thing is, humor requires a certain degree of vulnerability. Like it just does. It really does. Like, you have to be willing to be like going like, okay, this joke might actually not be funny. It's funny to me, but because okay, drama is easy. Everybody understands pain. Everybody's been through pain on some level. It's one of the simplest things. It's one of the simplest, most humane things. It doesn't matter who has been on the other end. There has been pain in everybody's life. Everybody's been there, right? Sometimes it's hard to imagine that in some cases, but it's true. Everybody gets pain.
Yeah.
Laughter's a little bit more unique because there's guys like me who can use it to cope, right? Who have used it to cope. Some people,
Or like Robin Williams.
yeah, Robin Williams was a big example
He
of
did
that.
a lot.
Yeah, he was great. Like in terms of it, just raw comedic talent. Like, very few people have that gift, like what he had. But he was willing to do that. The other part about it is humor is very much like telling a story too. You're using its expectation and then surprise. It's really a simple formula when you get right down to it. You challenge it, you set up an expectation that people know about, and then you deliver a surprise. The challenge with that is you gotta make sure the surprise makes sense in the expectation you're delivering. And that's where a joke succeeds or fails. For example, I said earlier, I tell bad jokes all the time. You laugh. Why? Because again, I took an expectation and I twisted it. Right? I didn't say that I told great jokes, which is or I'm funny. I'm saying I'm saying it in a way that's very self-defacing in a good way. I'm not saying like I'm not afraid to put it out there. There's a quiet confidence to what I'm doing too, and that's why it works. Now some people would be like, it's not funny, because it's not funny to them, right? Right. It's just not. Humor is a much riskier position to be in. Then again, I wrote about zombie monsters and unicorns that fart rainbows. I'm not exactly in like the serious category, right? I'm just not there, and I think it's just a conscious choice. You and me have something in common in that we help authors out. For you, I think for you, the reason, and I'm saying this as a big compliment, a little humor would work with you. But the fact that you're...
Oh, it totally would.
Yeah.
I can pull it off.
Yeah. But
that's the problem, is that I really struggle to pull it off.
It's a combination of, okay, I'll give you a piece of advice that might help. But before we get to that, the fact that you're so professional, so helpful, so kind, draws people to you anyway. Right? That is your big area of strength. You genuinely want to help authors connect to readers. You genuinely want to, you want that. And you come across far more polished than I do. And because of that, people trust that you know what you're doing. People wonder about me sometimes, but they don't wonder about you. Right?
Aww.
I don't know that
that's necessarily true, but I'm glad you feel that way.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just saying, like, because it again, it's your presentation. I'm very unstructured by my nature, so some people. I remember Tracy Posey did a interview with me at When Words Collide last year, and she's like, "So what are we going to talk about?" I don't know. We'll figure it out as it goes. And the look on her face, you could tell, like,
how could you do that? Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. It's like, what have I gotten myself into? Turns out it was a really great interview. Right? It was a great interview. I really enjoyed it. But she got to, it's like, you're very unstructured, but there was a very, she understood it. Like, there's a structure to the unstructured, but it's the way, it's presentation and approach, right? So, for me, humor works because I don't have that I don't come with armor. I have some, but again, you've read my posts, you've seen me. I make mistakes. I'm not afraid to make myself look like an ass. I'm very much what you see is what.
One of the things that's really great about your approach is that you're also, another thing that we have in common, you're incredibly kind.
Yep.
And so when somebody says, hey, what you just said or did hurt my feelings, you're very quick to respond positively and apologize, and you're open to change.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one thing that some comedians in the past have gotten in trouble for.
Well, yeah.
If they had just been open to that, it wouldn't have been such a problem.
Okay, that is a big topic for, like, we'll put that one, we'll get there. I understand comedians have a very fine line to, ironically, comedians' problem is their integrity. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. In your case, you've been taught that you've had to be a certain way for a long time. And it's become ingrained into you because, I mean, if mom and dad are telling you, well, this is how you have to be, now you probably...
And society.
And even society.
I'm a woman.
Yeah.
People don't take women seriously if they're not serious. That's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's not true. You have, you had Miranda O.
Yeah.
On just recently. And she is hysterical, and she is bold, and she is brazen, and she's all those things that I was told I wasn't allowed to be by society.
Yes.
And she's incredibly successful.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that what I do is true. It's just...
That was the expectation.
And I recognize that's a problem.
Yeah. That was the expectation ingrained into you.
Right.
So here's the piece of help. This is my suggestion. This is the thing. Comedy comes from a point of vulnerability. It does. You don't let yourself be vulnerable. And that's why it's so hard for you, right? That's why it's so hard for you to be funny. Because if you were to do that, let yourself be vulnerable, like I said, not every joke you're going to tell is going to be good, right? And you have to... comedy is not drama. Drama is a lot easier to create stakes, make characters care, make people invest in. Comedy is a lot more nuanced. Groucho Marx said best, drama is easy, comedy is hard. He's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. But in order to actually get to that point where I'm funny, I have to be vulnerable first. Right.
And that's actually something that not in the comedy realm, but something that I am exploring on an Angel Way, which is my blog that's primarily been, for the last 9 years, focused on authors and writing. But I am branching into some other aspects of conversation over there, one of which being health and wellness, which I've actually wanted to write about for a really long time, but as you can see, I am not a small person, and that leaving myself vulnerable to having those conversations with people, be like, why should I listen to her? She's fat. It's not comedy. I'm not there yet. But I think that moving out of that realm and getting into being comfortable, being vulnerable in that way, will hopefully lead to opportunity.
It's baby steps. Don't get me wrong. You will get to the point where you will do dad jokes. A joke of Mark Russell.
I'll never do dad jokes.
I wish I could say that. It's a cult. It's a freaking cult. So Mark Leslie, I'm calling him, like, my permanent nickname for him is Darth Vader. That's my nickname for. That's my permanent nickname for him. Mark, if you hear this, that's what I'm going to call you next time you come out on the podcast. Darth Vader. The Force is definitely wrong with you. I mean, that's okay. That's not, like, again, but again, you have to, but to Mark's credit, actually, he's a generous man, a great performer. Like, he's an amazing performer as much as he's an amazing storyteller, and every writer should aspire to be that confident in front of the camera as he is. That's an honest truth. That all said, going to comedians now. Comedians have a really, really good comedians make you laugh. Great comedians make you think. Right? So, but when you think, you're going to offend people. And you have to come and so, on the one hand, okay, I'm not a comedian. I tell stories. I have a funny perspective, but I'm not a comedian. My personal brand is, to be kind and try to help people, but also promoting my own agenda. because I am a selfish bastard. That's just the nature of the world, right? But the thing about that is, comedians have, when their material, if they really believe in it, right, they don't necessarily, it goes against their message sometimes to apologize for the joke. Because sometimes the joke...
but you can apologize without apologizing for the joke.
It's a tricky balance.
Fine line.
Yeah, it's a really tricky balance.
When you double down, that's not...
Sometimes you have to. That's where it gets tricky. Sometimes you have to. You have, because again, if you believe in what you're doing, and this is true, like success in general. I always, like, honestly, the paradigm of the most absurd thing I've ever watched is Mean Gene Okerlund interviewing Macho Man Randy Savage going the cream of the crop, right, in terms of marketing. And it's the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life. And I've watched Ultimate Warrior promos, and this is still tops those. But the thing is, those guys were able to talk people to come see them. And the reason they did that is because they believed in what they were doing. Right? No, it doesn't really matter what they said or how they said it or any of that. I mean, some of this stuff was like weird to the zenith. Like I don't have the drugs to understand what just happened on my television, right? But they believed it, and they conveyed that message in such a strong way that millions upon millions of people pay to see them live or on television or on pay-per-view. And a comedian has to do the same thing. You have to, your material, and again, there is a fine line with this. I do agree with you there. But it's a really tricky one, because sometimes you have to be true to the story you're telling. And sometimes it does mean you're going to offend people doing it. I think even with writing, good writing, you're going to do. I would rather you completely hate my writing, right, or love my writing, than be apathetic towards my writing.
That is true.
Right? And I know that, okay, yeah, my story with unicorns and rainbows and zombie monsters is not for everybody. It's just not. Right? I'm the Disney afternoon on steroids. And not everybody needs their steroids. Right? Right? But the thing about that is, I'm still going to say it's a great story. And I'm still going to be... Where a comedian tends to, I think, go off the cliff, you can defend your message, even if you're wrong, but you can't attack people doing it. And there's a really, really fine, and that's where I think a lot of comedians mess up. It's not that they're, again, you don't have to be, like, we don't always have to be right. In fact, hell, we're wrong, then we're right. Everyone, right? We're like I don't know what I'm doing, and that's the whole of my secret. And I really, I say that, and people laugh, but it's true. I just go and just do me the best I can, and it works out or it doesn't. I don't know that much, right? I'm not right about a lot of things. No one is. That's okay. What's wrong is, okay, I don't necessarily have to be a dick to somebody. I don't necessarily have to run somebody down because they look at some things differently, right? Right. And okay, like going on the COVID pandemic, okay? Right now, there are some things I absolutely believe are a little screwy about the whole thing. There are some things that are absolutely, I think, are right about the whole thing. And there's a lot in the middle I'm really confused about. And, right, I could pretend I know all the answers. Because I can go on the internet and I can search all kinds of things, and depending on my angle, I can come up with very interesting stories. Right? But here's the thing, they're all stories. I don't actually know for sure. And we live in an age today where everything is deception. Every message is backed by some brand that wants you to buy into some shit. Right? The conspiracy angles, I mean, there are people like Alex Jones that prey off it. They make a living doing it. So they won their
money.
Right, there's a lot of money in that. Flip side, there's a lot of money in the WHO. There's a lot of money in the CDC. Like if you follow the money, you look at that, it's like, well, you guys, you're all a bunch of corrupt bastards, and that's the honest truth.
It is true.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right? So, what do you believe? Well, I can be completely cynical and believe in nothing. Maybe that's the wisest course of action, but I'll never know the truth that way either. So it's kind of like, right?
Well, what you do is you look at the common denominator of information, and you get the truth from there.
I study...
Which means you have to do a ton of research. And this is something that my mom and I have kind of gone over and over again, because she's of the age and generation where news was always the truth. And
oh, God, yeah.
Being able to separate what's happening now in the news and being able to, how do you educate yourself around that? How do you, she's 75 and she'll share stuff on Facebook and we're like, ugh, you need to take this down because here's this link and here's that link and here's that. And she's like, how am I supposed to know what's true and what's not anymore? I was like, well, start with not getting your news from
No, well, yeah, but that's also a losing battle. My grandmother's been watching the news for 50 years. You're not going to change that. You're just not. I mean,
yeah, it's hard.
Well, it's beyond that. I mean, you got to understand too. Once upon a time, the news was trustworthy. Once upon a time,
because it was just the facts, and then you were left to interpret it for yourself.
And then, like in the 80s, especially, you can see when the news cycles became a lot more corporate and a lot more like zoned. Ironically enough, here, and this is just my personal opinion, right? I think if we did away with the 24-hour news cycle, we would actually do away with a lot of divisions that are going on in the country. It would take some time, but no. Now. I still think you could. I still think you could reverse it, and I'll tell you why I think that.
Reverse some of it.
Yeah. I think eventually all of it. Maybe not right away. We're not talking like an overnight. I'm not saying an overnight fix because that there's no such thing.
Follow the money.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, it won't take anything away because people that are in the money making business have already learned that division. So we're never going to be able to undo it.
I lost a part of that division, and then it went blank.
Oh no!
So say that again.
Division creates more financial opportunities
Absolutely.
for them.
Yeah.
And now that they know that they take away the 24-hour news cycle, it won't matter because then they'll find other ways to do
there's definitely been a lot. There's definitely been a lot of money in divide and conquer for a long time, and I mean the easiest solution, honestly, is everybody learns how to compromise. I miss the days where me and you could talk about something, we can disagree vehemently, and then we can have a beer at the end. Hey, that was cool. My dear, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right, and that's really like the long term. Right? Do I think we can get back to that? Actually, yeah, I do. Do I think it's going to happen as things are? No, I don't, because as you said, there's way too much money in divide and conquer. It's also easier to enslave a population when they're all divided and fighting amongst themselves. And
you said it.
Yeah, it's easier. It's so much easier. And like I said, the big thing I saw this time is I saw a new for the last 10 years, we had the new left, like the left conservatives versus liberal debate. Even though I feel like that debate was settled in the 60s. I mean, I don't know. I really, like, that's my opinion, right? The real debate was moderation versus extremism. And I think extremism won the battle, I think, at least for now, right? Now you got another.
Moderates keep trying, though. Darn it.
Well, no. I just don't drink the Kool-Aid or the crazy. I just like you're nuts and you're nuts. You're both nuts. Let's go have a drink. Can we just have a drink?
You excited? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's no point. I mean, everybody's going to have their own narratives, and people are going to believe what they want to believe. Something I was just reading the other day was, and this I feel is a very honest thing. Like, we're built to believe we're right. And that's actually good. Confidence to actually go out and seek truth is amazing because you find so many things and so many secrets in the world. But you also find the fact that that's my dad's business phone. Don't worry, it'll go through. Yeah, character. But what you find is, right, people tend to how do I give it a second here? Okay, so people tend to have to. People don't have it in themselves. Like people, it's great because it gives people the confidence to go seek the truth, right? The trap a lot of people fall into though is that the narrative bias you have informs your truth, and the truth is very rarely your bias, right? So.
Well, and then the other thing that's really interesting is that I'm trying to remember what the phenomenon is called, but the more you know, the less confident you are in what you know. The less you know, the more confident you are that you're right.
Yeah.
And it's a psychological thing that's been proven repeatedly across everything, all education levels, all IQ levels, all skill levels. It's just as likely to happen among individuals who are tradesmen as it is with individuals who are intellectuals. It's across all facets of life. So, and that's as much true. I mean, like, it's funny because I realized the other day I was working on a bio for something, and I was like, I have 15 years experience. I have no idea what I'm doing. I mean, I do. I know a lot, but I also know that with everything that I know, there's so much that I don't know. And I'm constantly continuing to learn and constantly continuing to try and stay on top of, especially in marketing, because digital is changing the landscape every 6 months. You know, the stuff that I knew about digital publishing 2 years ago, I'm constantly having to relearn new stuff that's coming out and changes to how, I mean, even how Amazon ads work. It's like every 3 months they change up the algorithm, and so you have to learn how to do it again. So, but those who are so confident that they know what they're doing, they don't bother continuing that education until they start failing, and then they can't figure out why they're failing.
Well, see. So I watched a podcast with Joe Rogan with a guy named Robin Black, and he says there's 4 stages to something, and he's absolutely right. Unconsciously incompetent is phase 1, which is what that describes your thing. Then there's consciously incompetent. Oh, really? I don't know shit. There's consciously competent, and then there's unconsciously competent when you've mastered a skill, right?
Right.
It's a journey. I think I know. No. Okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing when I think about it, and I know what I'm doing, and I can do it in my sleep.
Right.
Case in point. For me, that skill is interviewing. I've interviewed so many people that I have zero fear of anything I see across the screen. I've dealt with all kinds of stuff. I'm sure there are things that will make me go like this, and my jaw will drop. I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? And that will eventually happen, I'm sure. But, all in all, I've dealt with PTSD. I've dealt with glitter. I've dealt with stone flies. There's really, you're not going to shock me it's not easy to shock me, right? You're not going to embarrass me. That's almost impossible. And I give zero fucks in the right way. Right? It's I'll go along with you for the ride wherever we're gonna go. That's the skill where I feel like I could teach people an awful lot about interviewing just because I've done it for so long. Flip side, writing. I'm somewhere between not unconscious, and I'm past that point. Consciously incompetent and consciously competent. Sometimes it's like, I know it's good, right? And sometimes I'm like, oh, shit, how the hell do I get out of this corner I put myself into?
Yeah.
Right? And I've learned how to skip phase 1, where unconsciously I'm incompetent. Right? I'm unconsciously incompetent. No, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll just assume that going in. I'll skip step 1. Right? I'll just skip it. I don't like being made to look like an idiot. I do have some pride. It's one of the things that really does annoy me. I don't mind if I'm just legitimately, I don't know what I'm doing. That idiocy I accept. That's just a part of learning. You have to know that that's a part of it. Hey, I'm batting down to you because you really, like, no, I'm not that stupid. Just right? But I don't care if it's nuclear physics. I'll figure some of this shit still applies from my physics class playing with Legos. Fuck off. Help me. Start me there, right? Right? And right, we'll figure it out. That's the thing, right? So I find like going on today and just listening to what everybody's opinions, and I think that's the worst thing about Facebook is because everybody's got an opinion on everything.
And their opinion is treated like it's fact.
Yep.
Don't you question their opinion because then you're questioning how smart they are.
Yes.
And that's not what's happening.
No. God, no. I had like I said, again, there are people that some of the things I put up on COVID, people disagreed with it vehemently. Cool. Right?
Yep.
I lost one Facebook friend for that. One.
Oh, no.
Darn.
Well, it's their loss.
Well, that's it. Well, no, I don't. Again, we live in an age of no compromise. And one of the things I've tried to do ever since I was a kid, and this has applied more and more the more I do the podcast, just keep an open mind. Nobody I know believes what I believe, sees the world how I see it, and that's actually a good thing. Honestly.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the more diversity, so I'm kind of like you with the whole keep an open mind and respect other people's views and everything. There's one thing that will get you blocked on my Facebook, and that is treating other people disrespectfully.
Yep.
That's the only thing that will get you blocked on my Facebook. Now, I might silence you for a while. I have a couple of friends who I love dearly, but they're, it's political. It's politics time, and they're always respectful on my posts, but sometimes they can get less respectful in my posts, and I can't handle that kind of, I don't do well with division. I don't do well with people fighting. That's not my thing. So I don't want to see it. And it's okay if you guys want to have that conversation on I'm just going to block you for 30 days. Not block.
Mute.
Silence.
Mute.
For 30 days.
Yeah, it's mute. It's called mute.
I do the same thing on Twitter too.
So for me, the only thing I really hate is passive aggressiveness. I don't see, like that's that one. So there's an individual I chatted with, and they were talking to me about some bad clients they've had. And one or two of those bad clients definitely, shit happens. We all have those clients that just can't deliver.
Oh yeah.
Hell, I've been that client that can't deliver. It's just right. I've been there. Right? Sometimes the circumstances beyond your control. Sometimes shit happens. That's just life. Sometimes though, you're dealing with special cases, right? And everybody gets one of those at some point, right? Sometimes though, I tend to look at patterns. I don't look at necessarily the facts in the moment as much maybe as I should. I look at patterns. So, this response in the past, how has this response been in the present? Is it the same? Is it because sometimes, with this particular person, it's like, well, the one thing that's been in common with all these situations is you. So you have to take a look at how you approach your business going forward. And I said a comment, your kids are no longer in the house. You don't have to settle for crap anymore. You can be a little ruthless. And this was the impression I was trying to get. You have to be ruthless with some of the people you get. You have to be, because, again, not everybody can deliver. And honestly, we're in a business where you either deliver or you don't. And if you don't, you don't get more work. That's how this game is played.
Yeah.
Right? Next day I see a post about her current food situation and about like me saying just taking what I said and doing it in a completely, not the way I intended it. It was very passive aggressive. I confronted them privately about it and I never heard a response.
Right.
And I was like, "You're muted now. I'm not gonna."
That's not being respectful. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I would have blocked that person.
Yeah.
Because that's not being respectful. But.
Well, it's tough because again they're still in the same. They're ultimately in your business, so it's a small world. But no, they're muted for now. And like I said, I'm not above that conversation of let's talk this out. What do you see? What did I see? Because hey, let's be honest. I have a big mouth. I could have said it the wrong way. I certainly have said. I've certainly said shit in the past. Probably the way I said it didn't really translate the way I intended. It happens. Word choices. Again, that writing thing. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, and sometimes I do know what I'm doing, right? And you gotta find that happy balance. It could be me, and I'm a big enough man to admit it. But if you're not gonna have that conversation, there's nothing I can do about it. So, right? So I hate passive aggressiveness the most. Cynicism's second, but passive aggressiveness is the most.
I'm married to somebody who has a tendency towards passive aggressiveness. So half the time I miss it. I'm really bad. Like I'm very so my husband is on the autism spectrum.
Okay.
And my son is on the autism spectrum. And having dealt with them so long, everything I do is very direct. Everything I do is very forward facing. I don't play games with. And unfortunately, having spent so much time dealing with that, I've kind of lost the emotional intelligence that I used to have working out in the real world. And I often will miss people being snarky or whatever because, and honestly, I don't want to see it, so it's easier not to see it. But I find that if you ignore it, they don't win.
Yeah.
If you acknowledge it and you get caught up in your life, then they end up winning.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, when people are being passive aggressive, that's exactly when you're doing it because they don't feel confident enough to be able to confront you directly, and they think they're going to score a little point over here this way. Especially if they do it in a space where they know you'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
And to me, giving them I don't follow that negative.
No, I get that. No, it's an interesting, again, because I interview so many people, it's interesting the ego aspect of the business. Most 99% of it is great. But every once in a while, you just deal with somebody like, what the, right? What,
No.
what did I do? What did I do to deserve you? And then I go to God, I'm sorry. Whatever I did, I'm sorry. But that's my own personal experience. So,
Oh yeah, for sure.
wow, I didn't expect to go this way with you.
I am all over the place, man.
No, it's good though. I don't mind. It's just unexpected. Let's see here. So, what came first, writing or helping people?
Both at the same time. I wrote my first book when I was in first grade.
Awesome.
I have always helped people. In first grade, I was the kid who was befriending the kids. So they really do go hand in hand. They haven't always gone hand in hand in industry.
Mm-hmm.
That happened about 4 years after I published my first book.
Okay.
I noticed a lot of people that were struggling. They were connecting with other writers, and they couldn't figure out why they weren't selling any books. They weren't talking. And I had spent my 4 years building up a reader base, building up my reader audience. And so I was doing okay on that end, but I was struggling because I was very alone. Because that was shortly after my son had been diagnosed, and we decided that it was best for me to stay home and take care of him. And I was a very social creature. I'm kind of social now. I can go back and forth. But before I met my husband, I was that girl that was going out every weekend partying. I was in theater, and I worked in the restaurant industry. I worked retail. I loved being around people. I thrived being around people. And then being with him, I thought he was just, we didn't realize that he had autism at the time. I just thought he was an introvert, which is fine, but my life got a little bit smaller with him. And then we were having a lot of struggles with our son, who he's extremely high functioning. It took DSM change in 2013 for him to actually be classified as being on the autism spectrum. 10 years ago, he would have been diagnosed as, 20 years ago now, he would have been diagnosed as Asperger's, but then they did away with the Asperger's diagnosis as well. So it was kind of a weird, tricky situation, but he is extremely smart, but he has very little executive function. And so while he was extremely smart, he couldn't be trusted to do things like make dinner at 13 using the microwave, because he'd forget to take his fork out of the bowl, and then when it would start sparking, his brain would completely shut down, and if I wasn't there to turn it off, there would be fire. Kind of situation. So we decided it was better for me to stay home with him and work with him and help him, and the world got smaller. And then when you have somebody who has special needs, your friends don't come around as much, and their life goes on while you're still dealing with your stuff. Mm-hmm. And then we moved across country, and the opportunity for making friends was, it's hard enough for regular people to make friends when you change your environment once you're out of high school and college. You have work, but I don't work. And you have church, but I couldn't go to church because he couldn't handle all the people. And you have what? That was all I had. And I didn't have that anymore, and I was in a completely new environment with no social support. So my world got really, really small.
You miss it?
Yeah, actually, so he is 18 now, and he's living in a group home because he's trying to develop skills to be independent. And I had the opportunity to go back to work for a contract job for 6 months last year, May to November, and I loved it. And I kind of can't wait to do it again. And I was hoping to do it again, and then COVID-19.
Yeah.
I was like, I get why people are like, this sucks so much, I hate this. And I was like, this is my everything. Nothing's changed for me.
It changed for me, but the funny thing was, in my case, it was a change I was going towards anyway. It was like,
it's just a little faster, right?
about a month. It was a month quicker than I would have liked, but only a month. It's like, what are you gonna do, right? You just, what are you gonna do? We don't control our circumstances. All you can do is make the most of what you have. And that was my attitude. It's like, well, what can I do? I'll publish a book. I did it! Hooray! Right, done. Right? And apparently I've entertained at least your reading group has been entertained by my...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They love the zombie monster.
Yeah.
That's the greatest thing ever. I agree with them, by the way.
Yeah, I'm glad you like that. I hope they like the book too. I hope so, and I hope they like the next thing when I introduce. I have a killer cupcake blob monster in the next book because it. Yeah, it's one of those things where, again, for me, writing is three things. I have to have something I really want to say, right? I have to know the story I want to tell. And I have to have fun. Or what's the point? I tend to believe that, and I think this is true with it's marketing, it's marketing, it's writing, it's everything. The people involved, you can feel their passion, their drive, their want. Whether it's a conscious thing or not, you can feel it. And so I'm like, well, I don't want to just advertise it like everybody else is advertising. Where's the fun in that? Right? Let's do as much weird, because I'm starting from an area where I don't know an ultra ton about marketing. So I'm like, well, what would I want to see? What would make me want to possibly check out this book? Zombie Mobster Interviews. Out writing about Alice Cooper, metal, and what authors can learn about that, because I did that on another's website.
Yeah, I saw that one. That was good.
Yeah, how books learn to love video games, and because again, it ties very much into what I'm doing. And it's like, okay, I'm talking about themes themes that matter to me, things I care about, and my hope is that whoever reads these things, whoever sees these things, will be entertained, but also they're engaged and they're thinking about almost like a comedian. I'm making you think about the things I'm saying as well, while I'm distracting you with all the random crazy. And but that's me. And hopefully that I feel like there's a certain genuineness in marketing and storytelling, and I think that's maybe something I have going for me. I don't know. Maybe I understand the importance of authenticity, which I think.
Oh yeah.
A lot of authors. It's something I notice a lot of authors struggle with. Like, I got this great book, and they're excited about this book, but they don't know what to do with it. By me.
Yes. And actually, one of the things that I loved how quickly you were willing to jump on doing the character interviews, because character spotlights are literally the #1 most popular post. And so few authors do them. And I'm like, you don't understand. What is the thing that most readers get invested in with the story? It's not the author. I mean, once you get to Stephen King level, sure, people get invested in you. But if your first introduction to my audience is an author interview, I mean, they might be interested in some things that you say and some fun stuff that you do, but that doesn't mean that they're going to pick up your book.
No.
But if you get them invested in your character, yeah, I want to read your book. And your book is, I don't typically read cyberpunk. I do steampunk. But at first I was like, yeah, I mean, there's unicorns. I'm not a unicorn girl. And then you sent me Chester, the zombie mobster, and I went, oh my gosh. 3 other books I have to read before I can get to yours, but I knew, because I love zombies.
Yeah.
And I love mobsters. And those two smashed together in the crazy world that you've created, that sounds fun, and I want some fun.
Wait, he's
totally appeals.
Yeah, so Chester is my 1.5. I'm not going to spoil the story, but Adam's daughter, Chester, and I'm not going to give away the other person, because you're going to have to read the story and find out. They have to try and take over the mob, and I get that, and it's fun because I'm writing Chester in a completely different light. He's not just a goon in this one, right? He is still a goon. That's the thing. That's what makes this so much fun. He's still a goon. He still wants to react like a goon, but he's forced to grow as a character. All the while, still stuck. Yeah, because it's well, again, going back to comedy and expectations and surprise. This works in every form of storytelling. Doesn't really matter what it is. It works. So, what's the expectation of a zombie mobster? Well, they're going to be the Brawn. Okay. So, you start them there, but they don't have to stay there. Right? They can become something else along the way, and that's because that's life. We start wherever we start. Okay, I'm making a big change in my life right now. This may work. This might blow up. Who knows? We'll know a year from now after I've done 3 books. We'll see where I'm at. Can I do something with this? Have I done something with this? Right? We'll see. We will see. But I still will have done this. And I will have grown as a person in this time, because now I've done something completely different, right? I got out of my comfort zone, and everybody understands that on some level. So every story you write, every way you market, you should be looking at ways to get out of people's comfort zone, because, hey, guess what? People notice that stuff. Hey, that's something I can relate to. I don't know why, but I know, him being forced to take on something he's not used to. I know what that's like. Who doesn't? Right?
Yep. And it definitely makes people to read your story, for
Yeah.
sure. And I think that that's one of the things that, with the exception of a few indie authors who pull it off really well, like Joshua Robertson,
Yeah.
J.D. Estrada, they have very magnetic personalities. It doesn't matter what they write, I'm going to read it because I adore them as people. But for most of us, what really will set us apart from the masses is people falling in love with our books and falling in love with our characters.
Mm-hmm.
And so taking the opportunity to introduce people to that is huge. And so few authors do it because they'd rather do an interview. Interviews are easy because it's just the same questions over and over.
Yes.
So boring. I hate that.
What do you feel about writing in this perspective? I don't. I really don't. But I gotta come up with 1,000 words. I gotta come up with a few hundred words to explain my feelings so I sound important. I think. Well, it's just I think the thing is I truly believe this. Whatever we choose to do with our lives is a reflection of who we are as people, right? And me, like writing about what I write, there are traits in those books that are definitely. I'm there. It's just I'm honestly there, right? Same thing with you. How you help people, how you approach your books, how you approach your presentation. That's you too. And I think the challenge we have as authors, because we don't have the ability to be like Alice Cooper and go on a stage very often, right? I kind of want to go on a stage.
We get it a lot more often than we realize. We just don't reach for those opportunities.
Yeah.
We're afraid.
Ooh.
Most authors tend to be introverts.
Mm-hmm.
They're afraid. I'll get on a stage. It doesn't scare me. I was doing theater before I ever considered pursuing. I actually was going to get a degree in film before I met my husband, and my life changed and everything. But that was going to be my world. So being on stage, doing interviews, going on panels, talking anywhere, it doesn't bother me at all.
No.
But there are a lot of authors that they're absolutely terrified to. They don't know what to do.
Yeah, well, there's your comfort zone, and there's where the magic happens, right? And that's it. And you have to get out of your comfort zones to make that magic happen. Which, So you're gonna go back on the stage again, I think.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I do public speaking all the time. That's like half of my job.
Yep. So wait, like is it more about author-related stuff, or is it about other things?
I do a lot of talking. So I've created a bunch of courses. Talk about courses. I talk with sales teams and talk about how to sell, and that it's not all about you, it's all about your client. It's funny that seems to be a reoccurring theme across marketing and sales and small businesses. We all think it's all about us, but it's not. It's all about the person that you're talking to. And when you figure that out, something I learned from interviewing, that is how you twist everything up. Because once you figure out what the other person wants, and you give them what they want, that's so different from how we're used to interacting in the world, where it's everybody's all about me, all about me. Oh my gosh, you care about me? Okay, I'm listening.
It's what do they want, and what do you offer?
Right.
It's a combination. What do I offer as a writer? Crazy worlds that are unique, and they're an experience that won't be quite like anything else you read. That's what I offer.
Right.
So not every reader wants that. Some people love their formula, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Again, I'm not going to reach that reader very often, right? But but for me, it's like, do you want to change? Do you want like something different, something imaginative, something provocative? This is for you. And I think I figured out my own market. I think my own marketing slogan for just everything I do from here on in, which is that statement. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the perfect time for it too, because everybody wants an escape right now.
Yes.
There's so much negativity going on.
Oh yeah,
if you give them a positive escape, they love it.
Yeah. Well, the next one won't be so well. Next one's gonna be fun. It's Alice in Wonderland's Greek mythology. So I'm gonna have some. It's fun. Yeah.
And it's good escape.
Yeah. Short but sweet, and then the one afterwards, it's a little darker, but I like it because I think again, I like talking about stuff that matters to me, and one of the things that I've come, like, integrity matters to me a lot in this time. I find that, like, the more I see what's going on, the more I really respect honesty and authenticity, and it's such a rare thing.
It really is, yeah.
Sad but true. Let's go on a slightly high. So you've written, I saw, like 5 books every day, or was it more than that?
I technically have 9 books. I was a part of a publishing house that crashed and burned, and I actually walked away from the publishing world for a while because of negativity and everything that happened. That's when I took that job outside of all of this, and with COVID-19 and the delay in getting another job, I'm working through and republishing everything that I did before. I'm rebuilding that whole audience. But so right now I don't have
You faded out again.
Oh no!
Right now I don't have I'm gonna zoom.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
So I no, it's okay. So I actually have 9 books, but I am working at republishing them, so I only have 2 up right now. I also have 5 courses, and none of those are up right now.
No, it's fair.
So,
it's fair. No,
slowly rebuilding.
Well, it's interesting because it sounds okay. So in your case, I get the impression you want to come out of your comfort zone a little bit more, and in one sense, this is almost a step backwards for you because you're like, I'm here and I know this, and am I right on that? Is that kind of like a feeling going on?
Well, that was part of it, and then the other part of it was that it's just so much. You know, you build something up and then it burns down and then you have to rebuild. And there were other opportunities that were more lucrative, and that's why I went the route that I went. But then there's also, you know, when you try to rebuild in a community that tends to be very it's like, where do I go from there? I have to find a whole different audience. I have to find a whole different... I've already published those books. Sales already happened for the most part, but I can't publish the next book series if I don't republish the previous. There's that piece, but then also with the courses, the whole reason I developed the courses, they're for authors primarily, teaching them how to market. And when the publishing house collapsed, because I was part of the management of that team, there was, I don't know, there was a lot of negative stuff, a lot of negative talk, and I just walked away. I didn't want to be part of it. So I didn't defend myself when people were talking trash about me, and there were people who blamed me for why everything went wrong, and, you know, people took sides, and I just didn't want to even be a part of that whole mess. But now I'm like, okay, I put my classes back out there, and then who's going to trust to take them? Who's going to consider what I'm offering? And I've kind of played with a couple of different things, and talked to people outside of the authoring world about my courses and how to publish and how to promote them and everything like that. And all of them are like, okay, based on the content that you have, you should be charging thousands of dollars for the classes. The reason that you're struggling to sell is because you're undervaluing the product. And I was like, but there are authors who are charging that kind of price for classes, probably fairly similar. And the whole reason I created mine was because I know that most authors can't afford thousands of dollars for classes. So charging more for it, I might attract a different class of authors that can afford it. But that wasn't the person I was trying to help, because if they can afford $1,000 for a class, they can afford to pay somebody to do the marketing for them. They don't need to take my class. And so one of the things that I finally decided, and since I've decided it, it's been a lot easier to move forward with processing all of that and getting it up on my site, I decided that I'm going to set the class free, and then there's a donate button, and people can pay whatever they think the class is worth. And then if people take it, great, and if people don't, then whatever. but I'm not gonna fight with you, you know?
Ooh, a lot to unpack here.
So much.
Actually, no, there is. Okay, so I learned this a long time ago. Going back to the authenticity and reputation and that stuff. People are going to say mean things about me eventually. Some of them are going to even be true. It's just the way it is, right? I have learned that for the most part, it's what you do that makes your reputation, not what people say. And while it might take a while to hear for the noise to die, if you're still doing your thing, sooner or later, everybody's going to shut up. That's just how it works. No matter, even when you're in the wrong, ironically enough, even when you're wrong, it works that way too. Because yeah, you can make mistakes. Yeah, bad things do happen. Yeah, you probably shouldn't have been that kind of shithead. I'm not saying this is you. Just a general.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, right. But you're still getting up and you're producing. You're still getting up and you're doing your thing. There's a certain integrity to that you can't deny. And that, one of my old mentors valued reputation. The old Hollywood concept, if no one saw it, didn't happen. That's not true. Right. That's not actually true. What people value, what people remember is the experience you gave them, good, bad, or indifferent, and the work you offered. You can't always have a good experience with people. That's just human nature. Look, I'm going to be a dick to somebody someday. And it's going to happen. I'm going to have a bad day. They're going to have maybe a bad day and wrong place, wrong time. That experience can be bad. But my work overall can be good. And my work will override the fact that there's one bad experience here or there. It just will. So, I mean, to the first part, I don't know what happened with your publishing house. I really feel it's not something that really needs to be dwelled upon. What I do feel, what I do feel in your case is, it sounds to me like you and a bunch of friends got together and tried to make it work, and it didn't. And there were bitter feelings as a result of this. And I'm sorry for the experience you had with your friends. Shit happens. And you walk away. And that's all you can do sometimes. And it's a bitter pill to swallow. It's a really bitter pill to swallow, too. Especially something you really, right? Now, there's a flip side, though, to this. And this is where you're currently at. You can't do initially what you plan to do. This is an opportunity to reinvent yourself completely as well. You don't have to be the same Heidi that everybody knew before. And you can still be true to who you were, but you can be a completely different. We all evolve. I'm not the same guy I was 3 years ago. I'm not going to be the same guy 3 years from now. That's how it works, right? So, who do you want to be? And you can be that person. Again, we're going to go back to something at the very beginning. That vulnerability part, right? That's important. That's the key to this. If you are willing to put yourself in that, this can be a completely brand new experience.
Yeah.
Right? That just.
And that's where I'm going with it, for sure.
Yeah. I might be preaching to the choir, and if I am, I'm sorry.
Oh no, but it did take me 6 months.
Yeah.
8 months to get to that.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're preaching to the choir now, but that's not where I was. When everything fell apart, I was done. I literally was so done with everything. I wasn't going to help any more writers. I wasn't going to do the blog anymore. I actually didn't even read for any fiction for 8 months. It was bad. And it sucked. I realized that I was miserable because what made me want to walk away wasn't what made me want to be in the industry in the first place. Mm-hmm. And those two felt so tied together that it took some time for me to work through and separate those feelings and get back to what really matters. And what really matters is, it doesn't matter if people take my course or not. I didn't create the course to make money. If I make money off of it, that's great. But I created the course to help people. And if people want help, I want them to be able to have access to it. And so how do I go about doing it? And that's where I took it from there. It's not about how do I make money from teaching people a skill that I know. It's how do I help people in a way that doesn't leave me completely. And that was one of the things that I struggled with the publishing house, is that the drive was all about how do we make money?
Mm-hmm.
How do we build a bigger audience? How do we become, it's all about us, it's all about us, it's all about us. And it got to the point where I was working 90-hour days trying to help make that thing happen, and that thing wasn't actually what I wanted. I just didn't realize it because I was so caught up in doing this with people. And I think it sucks that it happened, and there were a lot of people that did get hurt. And I honestly, I don't think there's anybody who was involved in it that didn't get hurt in some way or another. And I feel bad for the hurt that happened. But all I can do is move forward, just like you were saying. Now, and I did go through and I made amends. I had kind of talked previously about what amends are for. And I think that was a huge part of my healing process, because it wasn't just saying sorry to them. It was by saying sorry to them, I was able to let go of the guilt I felt about it.
It's funny, the way forgiveness works, when you forgive somebody or you apologize to somebody, actually more when you forgive somebody, you're actually letting go of their power over you. It's actually very, very rarely that you're forgiving. If I say sorry to like an offer, it's very, very, honestly, I'm sorry, although it's not nothing. It feels very inadequate sometimes for the things that have transpired prior to this. It really is. But if you choose not to forgive me, then who's the one having trouble sleeping at night? Me or you? Right? And that's a big thing. Like forgiveness is about letting go. I find as I get older, it's harder. Right? Because again, you said, and I do. This is just an honest thing. You remember the things people do to you, I think, a little bit more. And I think there's just a little bit of that. You have to be a little ruthless in terms of how you deal with people. Because, again, people will take advantage of you if you're not careful. So you learn to be ruthless, but as a result, letting go is harder. Because, again, you had to be a killer in that moment, and it's hard to separate the fact that I don't need the killer right now. Right? Right? It's a hard thing.
Well, and I think something that, it's one thing to set boundaries.
Yep.
I mean, setting boundaries is not being rude.
No.
It's taking care of yourself. And that's one of the things that, especially I think with creatives, we're constantly told that it's our job to give without expecting to receive. I mean, we give our art away for free all the time. And then it's to the point where everybody expects to be able to read for free. Or watch movies for free, or listen to music for free. All artists are guilty of this, right? It's not ruthless to say, I want you to pay for this thing. So, I will never give my books away for free. Now, with the classes, it's kind of ironic, because I'm just sitting here talking about giving my classes away for free. But with the classes, I didn't create those in the hopes of helping me.
Mm-hmm.
And not that people create art that way. But I know that the artistic community struggle, and they can't afford to pay for marketing. They can't afford for, all of paying for publicity and all of these things. A lot of them, some of them do. And so I put it out there, and those that can't afford pay back, can't. Hopefully they'll grow, and maybe one day they'll be able to pay back. But with my books, I don't give those back.
Okay. So I was about to actually get to this, actually, with you. That was number 3. So this month I'm helping somebody out with their Kickstarter. I'm marketing it. Mm-hmm. This is the last thing I'm doing for free. Now, there's I think that, again, it's going back to tightrope walking a little bit. This is just where I'm at. I have a voice actress. She has her own company. And I want to work with her someday. I want to pay her. I really value what she does. But she had a really, really good quote, and I'm keeping this in mind going forward, because once we get to July, I start getting paid by Amazon. August, I'll start getting paid by Kobo. So I'm going to have a regular author income. Now, whether it be $30 or whether it be $3,000, right?
Right.
That's another thing. Now, I do think with I have enough confidence in myself to say that I think I'm building a big enough audience that I think eventually the books and the sponsorships with the podcast are going to sustain me eventually. But, right, that doesn't mean I don't do other odd jobs here and there. And a lot of the best advice I ever from her was, okay, well, another author that we used to be friends, and then again go right, but she had a really good thing, a resentment meter. How much will it cost me to do a job and not resent it? And that's a really good thing to go by. One of my freelance jobs, I'm struggling because just for the sheer amount of words I'm putting in, I'm not getting compensated for it enough. And I know it deep down, and there's a part of me that resents it. And that's why it's taken so long for me to finish the job. They're a friend, but at the same time, it's not, I won't do this again for this little money. Right? Especially since I have another job that I write nowhere near as much, and I'm making way more money. Right? It's not even like that. That's where I'm at. So, come July, on my webpage is going to be a hire me. There's going to be rates for my services, all of them.
Right.
Here's the thing, though. I know that some of the people I'm going to deal with are going to be good people that can't afford me. I'm going to have the option, though. This is the thing. I'm my own boss. Some people, I might say, you're worth working with anyway. And that's how you give back. So with your courses, this is what I think your friends are right, by the way. You are undervaluing it. And I say this as somebody who wants to use your courses and probably won't be able to afford them after this conversation. But you should charge more. Because the $1,000 author that can pay $1,000 to take your course still needs to market. We all do. I don't care if you're Rob Sawyer. I don't care if you're Rob Sawyer. I don't care if you're Kelly Armstrong. I don't care if you're Joshua Penteloresco or anybody in the middle of that, right? Or below that. Whatever the case you may believe. I've been experimenting for the last 2 months because I've gone on my own. I don't know. I'm wading through a new jungle and terrain. But I realized, like, the only way I'm going to make real money at this, I know what I need to chase, and I know what I'm worth, right? So I'm going to charge it, and I'm not going to bend on that. Like, this is what it's going to be. Now, will this draw away some of the clients I might have? Probably. But at the same token, if I could make a living with these clients, I wouldn't be doing this. And that's kind of right, and that's a real thing. And I realized, like, again, somebody's right. You said all artists deserve to be paid. And honestly, I also believe so should all teachers. If you're good at what you do, now again, you can be your own boss. You can decide this person is worth it. I don't have to necessarily. I can give them what I feel is a fair rate for them. But if you go and you charge X, if you charge Y amount, because you'll meet, Captain Dickwad with the piles of money. But you know what? Here's the thing: he's putting enough piles of money in there. You don't resent dealing with this guy, and he's letting you now help people you really want to help. Yeah, but I'm
horrible. But see, okay, so here's the thing, and I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yep.
And everybody has to figure out what their thing is. For me, my thing is my time is worth money.
Mm-hmm.
Those classes, I've already created, my courses are not, I don't lead them. They're self-taught. They're self-led. And you have the option in the courses to contact me for one-on-one I have a community that you don't have to take my courses to be a part of, but the Authors Anonymous group on Facebook, we're all there to help kind of support each other and everything like that. And I provide links to all of that as well. But I do charge for my time. And I'm nice for my students. I only charge $20 an hour. But for my clients, I charge $50 an hour, where you can buy chunks of time, and the larger chunk of time you can buy a smaller amount that you have to pay. And so in that situation, I am pretty strict about charging for my time, because time is, that's something I can't get back.
Mm-hmm.
My courses, I've already developed them. Anything that I make off of them is free. it's not something that I'm like super passionate. I want to be a teacher. I want to create a bunch of courses.
Right.
But when I come across things where I see myself saying the same thing over and over again in Facebook groups, making the same suggestions to help authors out, I'm like, maybe I should just create a course. That way I can just say, hey, look, go take this and learn everything you need to know and stop having that.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, that's saving me time.
In a way.
So that's kind of where I'm going with the class.
I'm going to say I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from. We'll leave it there.
But if there's somebody who wants to make a living as a teacher, you're absolutely right. They shouldn't give their courses away.
Yeah.
And that's something that, it's the same thing with app development. I watch a lot of people, it's all creatives. You're told, give your stuff away, build your audience by giving your stuff away. But if you build an audience of free, who's going to buy when it's time?
That's it, right?
Built that expectation. So...
Yeah, I mean, I gave away some books for free on voracious readers, because again, I just thought it was a good starting point, and it's a free way to build readers. I haven't lost anyone that's taken it on the newsletter, which is like, hey, that's a plus. I didn't expect that.
Oh yeah.
Right? That's a plus. So it's one of those situations where I'm like, okay, there's pros and cons to charity, and you got. I think it's like me. It's
you have to be very selective.
Yeah, you gotta be judicious about that, right? So, and if it works, I'm not gonna argue, right? And that's pretty much where I am, right? So, but anyway, Miss Heidi, I think we have a very interesting interview. Before
I certainly had fun.
Yeah, before we wrap up, I just want to say this: good luck with this new/old beginning, and I hope you find what you love about this business will still be here for you.
Yeah. I'm slowly getting there. I'm seeing more and more that, when I leave the stuff that hurt behind, there's a lot of good.
Yes. I understand. I do. So, good luck. But before we wrap up, how about you tell people where people can find you and what you're re-releasing books? So, just talk about some of the books you're re-releasing as well.
So you can find me and everything that I'm doing at HeidiAngell.com, and that's Angel with 2 L's because I know that kind of thing. The only joke I've got, and it's my husband. But it works. And I actually am kind of in pause with when I'm going to be re-releasing my books because I want to buy my own ISBNs, and those aren't cheap. So once I have the income to be able to do that, I'll be moving forward with those. But I have a psychic detective series that has 2 books out, and the 3rd book will be coming 21. I have, and that's Your Angel Chronicle. And then I have the Hunter's Saga, which is for those who believe that vampires should be killed and not kissed. And there's 2 books out in that series. Lots of fun. And then I have a very personal series that's the Hell School series based on my experience with a stalker in high school. And then I have some poetry and some kids' books and some other fun. So those will all be coming over the next year or 2. And the courses I actually expect to have up in the next couple of months. And if anybody is looking for help with marketing, on HeidiAngell.com, there's a whole section called Angels for Authors, and I have lots of different tips and tricks that people can check out while they're waiting for the courses to come out. You can also contact me to request a free 30-minute consultation.
Let me help you tell your story. I offer a variety of audio services. I will narrate, I will produce, I will edit, and I will master your file so that it will be ready for Audible and Spotify. And if you don't want me to narrate your story, whether you want to do it or get someone else, I will help you find the right person for the job. All in all, I just want to help you tell your story. Let me help you. For information on my rates and services, please just click the link below in the podcast description, jpentellaresco.wordpress.com for more detail. I'm just adding some detail here right now just because it's easier for me to say it. The last little bit of that conversation was lost. HeidiAngell.com. You can go there. You can register an appointment with her. She gives you fantastic advice. I cannot recommend her enough. Like I said, she deserves... Every writer should actually take a minute and spend at least some time. She is worth the consultation. She is an amazing human being. And definitely check her out. Heidi is the woman. Like, totally. Like, she's awesome. So I loved having her. I think I'm a big fan of Heidi as a person, as you can hear in my voice. And Heidi, thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on to my show. So I made a decision. I made it on the weekend. First off, I think I figured out SEO. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I have it mastered. I have to constantly look and master. I'm still doing a few little things. I'm trying to find the right apps to figure out how search terms work. But I figured out how to figure out some basic SEO for anything I'm writing and doing. And I've learned that, and I've already found a couple like sweet spots where nobody's like using these search terms, and I like I said, I've been playing with it for the last couple months, and it was how do I put this? It was English. It was like a foreign language in my head, and it's like, no, it's not. It's really simple. It's search terms, but you just got it. It's just done a specific way, and once you figure that way out, it's like, oh, it's like numbers. Got it. But we'll see how if it works out the way I think it's going to work out, because I don't know. I got some news for my podcast in terms of the Storytime podcast. I might have found some distribution for them, which is really exciting. I make this very important, even when I work for somebody, when I put my clients out there. I don't cheat my effort. There's other things I've screwed up on, but I've never cheated my effort. And that's kind of where I see things. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what I make happen. And I made myself a promise for the next 2 weeks I wouldn't cheat my effort in anything I'm doing, including this podcast right here. And I'm hoping that people will see the effort and see what I'm doing, because there's going to be some really cool things in the next couple weeks. Not only did I release 2 books, I've done over 100 podcasts. I've put together audiobooks, mine and other clients. I'm pitching articles. I'm getting approaches back from editors. Broccoli actually approached me. It's like, that's freaking cool. So, anywho, I'm doing my thing. I'm doing what needs to be done. And I promise I will not, I don't know what the result will be, but I will not cheat my efforts and will not get in my own way. And that's the promise I made to myself. And that's the promise I'm hoping to make to you. I sent 10 people an appreciation. I'm just going all in. You go all in, you do your thing, and you hope for the best. And that's all I'm doing. In the meantime, guys, thank you for listening to this episode of Just Josh. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. Subscribe to the podcast. I'm on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and Deezer, and every other one you can possibly imagine. Click subscribe. Let people know I'm out there. I'm awesome and made of cheese, that kind of stuff. Just go for it. Number 1. Number 2, my books, Alice Zero and The Cloud Diver, on Amazon exclusively right now. The Cloud Diver will be going wide in October. It's going to be a blast to do. I'm excited. My YouTube channel is Joshua Pantellaresco. There are 355 episodes up there as of tonight. You can definitely see all my past episodes there. Beyond that, my merchandise, jpantellaresco.redbubble.com, my newsletter. Click the link below, put your email in, subscribe. It's awesome. And I also have my WordPress site. Anyway, guys, take care of yourselves. Stay inspired. Surf the chaos. Rock and roll.
Josh.